My friends, hello, hello. How is everybody doing today? We got some reading to do. We are cruising through our book. Excuse me. When we left off, John was saying that he was scared about tomorrow. He's scared about Monday hitting and what might be in the newspaper. So I'm going to do a little bit extra reading tonight. And not a ton in the news. Really, the news has become a little silly. And I think it's really because the campaign has started. But anyway, let's get into reading. And we are now down to less than 100 pages, which I know, or no, just around a little more than 100 pages. So we're really doing good because I think we read about 25 pages a night. So when Henry and I got home after dropping her off, I went into the back bedroom to lie down in the same spot where she was. I could still smell her on my bed, and I won't sleep tonight. I won't even try. I pace the room. When Henry goes to bed, I walk out and I sit in the kitchen table and write under the candlelight. I write about Lorien, about Florida, about the things I've seen when our training first began. The war, the animals, childhood images. I hope for some sort of cathartic release, but there isn't one, and it only makes me sadder. When my hand cramps, I walk out of the house and I stand on the porch. The cold air helps ease the pain of breathing. The moon is nearly full, a side of it never so subtly shaved away. Sunrise is 2 hours away, and with that sunrise comes a new day and the news of the weekend. The paper falls on our doorstep at 6, sometimes 6:30. I'll already be at school by the time it arrives, and if I'm in the news, I refuse to leave without seeing Sarah again, without saying goodbye to Sam. I walk into the house, I change clothes and pack my bag. I tiptoe back through and quietly close the door behind me. I take 3 steps on the porch when I hear a scratching at the door. I turn around and open it, and Bernie Kosar comes trotting out. Okay, I think, let's go together. We walk, stopping often, standing and listening to the silence. The night is dark. After a while, a pale glow grows in the eastern sky just as we enter the school grounds. There are no cars in the lot, and all the lights are off inside. At the very front of the school, in front of the pirate mural, sits a large rock that has been painted by previous graduating classes. I sit on it. Bernie Kosar lies on the grass, and and I'm a few feet away from me. I'm there for half an hour before the first vehicle arrives, a van, and I assume it's Hobbs, the janitor, arriving early to get to school in order, but I'm wrong. The van pulls in and pulls up to the front doors, and the driver gets out and leaves it idling. He's carrying a stack of newspaper bound by wire. We nod at each other, and he drops the stack on the door and he drives off. I stay on the rock. I glance contemptuously at the papers. In my mind, I'm hurling curses at them, threatening them to deliver the bad news I'm terrified of. I wasn't in the house on Saturday, I say out loud, and as soon as I do, I feel stupid. Then I look away and sigh and jump off. The rock. You all right, Stal? Well, I say to Bernie Kosar, this is it, for good or for bad. He opens his eyes briefly, then he closes them, and he resumes his nap on the cold ground. I tear the binding away, and I lift the top paper. The story has made the front page. At the top of it is a picture of the burned rubble taken the next morning at dawn. There is a gothic, foreboding feel to it. Blackened ash is forefront to naked trees and frost-covered grass. I read the headline, James' house goes up in smoke. I hold my breath, a miserable feeling centered in my gut, as though horrible news is about to find me. I race through the article. I don't read it, only look for my name. I reach the end. I blink my eyes and shake my head to rid myself of the cobwebs. A cautious smile forms. Then I scan through it again. No way, I say. Bernie Kosar, my name isn't here. He pays me no attention, and I run across the grass and I jump back on the rock. My name isn't here, I yell, this time as loudly as I can. I sit back down and I read the story. The headline is a play on Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, which is apparently a movie about drugs. What the police believe started the blaze was a marijuana joint being smoked in the basement. How that information was discovered, I have no idea, especially because it's so wrong. The article itself is callous and mean, almost an attack on the James family. I didn't like the reporter. It's apparent that he doesn't like the Jameses. Who knows why? I sit on the rock and I read the article 3 times before the first person arrives to unlock the doors. I can't stop smiling. I'm staying in Ohio in paradise. The town name doesn't seem so foolish to me anymore. Through my excitement, I feel as though I'm overlooking something, that I've forgotten a key component. But I'm so happy that I don't care. What harm can come now? My name isn't in the article. I didn't run into that house. The proof is right here in my hands. Nobody can say otherwise. What are you so happy about? Sam says in astronomy class. I haven't stopped smiling. Didn't you read the paper this morning? He nods. Sam, I wasn't in it. I don't have to leave. Why would they put you in the paper, he asks. I'm dumbfounded. I open my mouth to argue with him, but just then Sarah walks into the room. She comes sauntering up the aisle. Hey, gorgeous, I say. She bends down and she kisses me on the cheek. Something I'll never take for granted. Somebody's in a happy mood today, she says. Happy to see you, I say. Nervous about your driver's test? Maybe a little. Just can't wait until it's over. She sits down beside me. This is my day, I think. This is where I want to be and where I am. Sarah on one side, Sam on the other. I go to class as I've done all the other days, and I sit with Sam at lunch. We don't talk about the fire. We must be the only two in the whole school not talking about it. The same story over and over. I never hear my name spoken once. As I expected, Mark isn't in school. A rumor spreads that he and several others will be suspended for the theory the paper has spouted. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know that I really care. By the time Sarah and I enter the kitchen for 8th period home ec, my certainty that I'm safe has taken a firm hold. Such a strong certainty that I'm confident I must be wrong. That something has been overlooked. The doubt has been creeping up throughout the day, but I've been quick to push it back down. We make tapioca pudding. An easy day. In the middle of class, the kitchen door opens. It's the hall monitor. I look at him and I know immediately what happens. The harbinger of bad news. The messenger of death. He walks straight up to me and he hands me a slip. Mr. Harris wants to see you, he says. Now? He nods. I look at Sarah and I shrug. I don't want her to see my fear. I smile at her and I walk to the door. Before I leave, I turn around and I look at her again. She's bent over the table mixing our ingredients, wearing the same green apron that I tied on her the first day, the day we made pancakes and ate them off the same plate. Her hair is in a ponytail and loose strands dangle in front of her face. She tucks them behind her ear, as she does, and she sees me standing in the doorway watching her. I keep staring, trying to remember every minute, every minute detail of this moment. The way she grips the wooden spoon in her hand, the ivory look of her skin with the light coming in the windows behind her, the tenderness in her eyes. Her shirt has a loose button on the collar. I wonder if she knows about it. Then the hall monitor says something behind me. I wave at Sarah and I shut the door and I walk down the hall. I take my time trying to convince myself that it's just a formality, some document we forgot to sign, some question about transcripts. But I know it's not just a formality. Mr. Harris sits at his desk when I enter the office. He is smiling in a way that terrifies me. The same prideful smile that he had on the day that he pulled Mark from class to do the interview. Sit down, he says. So I sit. So is it true, he asks. He glances at his computer screen and then he looks back at me. Is what true? On his desk, there is an envelope with my name handwritten in black ink. He sees me looking at it. Oh, yes, this was faxed to you about a half hour ago. He picks up the envelope and he tosses it to me and I catch it. What is it? I ask. No idea. My secretary sealed it in the envelope as soon as it arrived. Several things happen at once, and I open the envelope and I remove its contents. 2 sheets of paper. The top is a cover page with my name on it, confidential, written in large black letters. I shuffle it behind the second sheet. A single sentence written in all capitals. No name, just 4 black words on white canvas. So, Mr. Smith, is it true? Did you run into that burning house to save Sarah Hart and those dogs? Mr. Harris asks. Blood rushing to my face, I look up. He turns his computer monitor towards me so that I can read the screen. It's a blog affiliated with the Paradise Gazette. I don't need to look at the name of the author to know who has written it. The title is more than enough. The James House Fire, The Untold Story. Uh-oh. My breath catches in my throat. My heart races. The world stops, or at least it seems to. I feel dead inside. I look back. Down at the sheet of paper I'm holding. White paper, smooth in my fingertips. It reads, Are you number 4? Question mark. Dun, dun, dun. Both sheets fall from my hands and drift away and float to the floor where they lie motionless. I don't understand. How can this be? So is it, Mr. Harris asks. My mouth drops open. Mr. Harris is smiling, proud and happy. But it's not him that I see. It's what's behind him, seen through the windows of his office. A blur of red coming around the corner, moving faster than it's normal, than what is safe. The squeal of tires that it zips into the lot. The pickup truck throwing gravel as it makes the second turn. Henry leaning over the wheel like some crazed maniac. He hits the brake so forcefully that his whole body jerks and the truck comes screeching to a stop. I close my eyes. I place my head in my hands. Through the window, I hear the truck door open. I hear it close. Henry will be in this office within minutes. Are you okay, Mr. Smith? The principal asks. I look up at him and he attempts his best look of concern. A look that lasts only a second before the toothy grin returns to his face. No, Mr. Harris, I say, I'm not okay. I pick up the sheet off the floor and I read it again. Where did this come from? And they're merely screwing with us now. There is no phone number or address, no name, nothing but 4 words and a question mark. I look up and out of the window. Henry's truck is parked, fumes rising from the exhaust. In and out as quickly as he can. I look back at the computer screen. The article was posted at 11:59, almost 2 hours ago. I'm amazed it took Henry this long to arrive. A sense of vertigo sweeps in. I feel myself sway. Do you need the nurse? Mr. Harris asks. The nurse, I think. No, I don't need the nurse. The nurse's station is in the room beside the home economics kitchen. What I need, Mr. Harris, is to go back there 15 minutes ago before the hall monitor arrived. Sarah must have the pudding on the stove by now. I wonder if it's boiling yet. Is she looking towards the door, waiting for me to return? He's saying this all in his mind. The faint echo of the school door slamming shut reaches the principal's office. 15 seconds until Henry is here. Then to his truck, then home, then where? Maine, Missouri, Canada, a different school, a new beginning, another name. I haven't slept in almost 30 hours, and only now do I feel the exhaustion. But then something else enters with it. And in that split second between the instinct and action, The reality that I'm going away forever without the chance to say goodbye is suddenly too much to bear. My eyes narrow, my face twists in agony, and without thinking, without truly knowing what it is that I'm doing, I lunge over Mr. Harris' desk and I crash through the plate glass window, which shatters into a million little pieces behind me. A scream of shock follows. What? What's the matter? My feet land on the outside grass. I turn right and I run across the schoolyard. The classrooms passing in a blur to my right, across the lot and into the woods that lie beyond the baseball field. There are cuts on my forehead and my left elbow from the glass. My lungs are burning. The hell with the pain. I keep going. The sheet of paper is still in my right hand. I shove it into my pocket. Why would the Mogadorians send a fax? Wouldn't they just show up? What is the main advantage to arrive unexpectedly, without warning? The benefit of surprise. Can I do anything for you? Are you all set? Princess? I take a hard left and in the middle of the woods, weaving in and out of the forest density until it ends and the field begins. Cows chewing cud watch with blank eyes as I streak past. I beat Henry to the house. Bernie Kosar is nowhere to be seen. I burst through the door and I stop dead in my tracks. My breath catches in my throat. At the kitchen table in front of Henry's open laptop sits a person I immediately think is one of them. They've beat me here. Have worked it so that I am alone without Henry. The person turns around and I clench my hands into a fist and I'm ready to fight. But it's Mark James. What are you doing here, I ask. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, he says, a look of fright evident in his eyes. Who the hell are you? What are you talking about? Look, he says, pointing at the computer screen. I walk to him, but I don't look at the screen. My eyes instead focusing on the white sheet of paper sitting beside the computer. It's an exact replica of the sheet in my pocket, except for the paper that it's printed on, which is thicker than the fax. Then I notice something else. At the bottom of Henry's, in very small handwriting, is a phone number. Surely they can't expect us to call. Yes, it's me, number 4. I'm here waiting for you. We've been running for 10 years, but please come and kill me now. We won't put up a fight. It makes no sense at all. Is this yours, I ask? No, he says, but it was delivered by UPS at the same time I got here. Your dad read it and I showed him the video. And then he sprinted out of the house. What video, I ask? Watch, he says. I look at the computer and we see that he's pulled up YouTube. He presses the play button. It's a grainy video of poor quality, as though it's been shot by somebody's cell phone. I recognize his house immediately, the front of which is in flames. The camera is shaky, but through it can be heard the dog's bark and the filtered gasps throughout the crowd. Then the person begins walking from the crowd to the side of the house and eventually to the back. The camera zooms in on the rear window where the bark is coming from. The bark stops and I close my eyes because I know what's coming. About 20 seconds pass, and in the moment that I fly through the window with Sarah in one arm, the dog in the other, Mark hits the pause button on the video. The camera is zoomed in, and our faces are unmistakable. Who are you? Mark asks. I ignore his question. Instead, I ask one of my own. Who took this? I have no idea, he answers. The gravel pops beneath the truck tires in front of the house as Henry pulls in. I stand straight, and my first instinct is to run. Get out of the house and get back to the school where I know Sarah will be staying late to develop photos until her driver's license test at 4:30. Her face is just as obvious as mine in that video, which puts her in as much danger as me. But something keeps me from fleeing. Instead, I move around to the other side and I wait at the table. The truck door slams. Henry walks to the house 5 seconds later, Bernie Kosar dashing in ahead of him. You lied to me, he says in the doorway. His face set hard, the muscles in his jaw flexed. I lie to everybody, I say. I learned that from you. We don't lie to each other, he screams. Our eyes stay locked. What's going on? Mark asks. I'm not leaving without finding Sarah, I say. She's in danger, Henry. He shakes his head at me. Now isn't the time for sentimentality, John. Do you not see this? He says, and he walks across the room and he lifts the sheet of paper, beginning and waving at me. What the hell do you think? Where the hell do you think this came from? What in the hell is going on? Mark nearly bellows. Do you like this book? Do you like this book? No. I ignore the sheet and Mark and keep my eyes on Henry's. Yes, I've seen it, and that's why I need to get back to school. They'll see her and they'll go after her. Henry starts towards me. After a second step, I lift my hand and I stop him where he stands. 10 or so feet away, he tries to keep walking, but I hold him in place. We need to get out of here, John, he says, a hurt, almost pleading tone in his voice. While holding him at a distance, I begin walking backwards towards my bedroom. He stops trying to walk. He says nothing, standing there watching me with pain in his eyes. A look that makes me feel so worse than I've ever felt before. I have to look away. When I get to my doorway, our eyes meet again. His shoulders are slumped, arms at his side, as though he doesn't know what to do with himself. He stares at me, looking as though he may cry. I'm sorry, I say, giving myself enough of a head start to get away. And I turn and I sprint across my bedroom. I grab from my drawer a knife I used to scale fish when we used to live in Florida. I jump out of the window and I race into the woods. Bernie Kosar's bark follows. Nothing else. I run for a mile and I stop in a big clearing where Sarah and I made snow angels. Our clearing, she had called it. The clearing in which we would have our summer picnics. A pain in my chest. As the thought that I won't be here in the summer. A pain so great that I bend over and I grit my teeth. If only I could call her and warn her to get out of school. My phone, along with everything else I took to school, is in my locker. I'll get her out of harm's way then, and I'll get back to Henry and we'll leave. I turn and I run towards school. I run as hard as my lungs will permit me. I reach the school just as the buses have begun to pull out of the lot. I watch them from the border of the woods. At the front of the school, Hobbs is standing outside the window, measuring a large sheet of plywood to cover the window I broke. I slow my breathing, try my best to clear my mind. I watch the cars trickle out until there's only a few left. Hobbs covers the hole, disappears into the school. I wonder if he has been warned about me, if he's been instructed to call the police if he sees me. I look at my watch, though it's only 4:30. The darkness seems to have come on faster than normal. A darkness steeped in density, a darkness that is heavy, consuming. The lights in the lot have come on, but they seem dulled and stunted. I leave the woods and I walk across the baseball field and into the lot. 10 or so cars stand alone. The door to the school is already locked. I grab a hold of it and I close my eyes and I focus and the lock clicks. I walk inside. I don't see anyone. Only half of the hallway lights are on and the air is still quiet. Somewhere I hear the floor polisher running. I turn into the lobby and the door of the photography darkroom comes into view. Sarah. She was going to develop some pictures today before her test. I pass by my locker and I open it. My phone isn't there. The locker is completely empty. Somebody, hopefully Henry, has it. By the time I reach the darkroom, I haven't seen a single person. Where are the athletes, the members of the band, the teachers who stay late and grade papers or do whatever they do? A bad feeling creeps into my bones, and I'm terrified that something awful has happened has happened to her. I press my ear against the darkroom door to listen, but I hear nothing aside from the drone of the floor polisher coming from far down the hallway. I take a deep breath and I try the door. It's locked. I press my ear on it again and I gently knock. There is no answer, but I hear a slight rustling on the other side. I take a deep breath. I tense myself to what I might find inside, and I unlock the door. The room is pitch black. I turn on the lights and I turn on my lights and I sweep my hand one way, then the other. I see nothing and I think the room is empty. But in the corner, I see a very slight movement. I crouch down and look, and beneath the table, trying to remain unseen, is Sarah. I dim my lights so I can see that she can see it's me. From the shadows, she looks up and smiles and breathes a sign of relief. They're here, aren't they? If they aren't yet, they will be soon. I help her from off the floor, and she wraps her arms around me, and she squeezes me so tightly that I don't think she intends to ever let go. I came in right here after 8th period as soon as the school ended. All these weird noises started coming from the halls. It got really dark, so I locked myself in here and I stayed beneath the counter, too scared to move. I just knew something was wrong, especially after heard you jumping through the window and you weren't answering your phone. That was smart, but now we have to get out of here and fast. We leave the room holding hands. The hallway lights flicker, the whole school engulfed in darkness, even though dusk is still an hour or so away. After about 10 seconds, they come back on. What's happening, Sarah whispers. I don't know. We move down the hallway as quietly as we can. Any noise we do make seems deadened, muffled. The quickest way out is the back door that opens onto the teacher's lot, and we head that way. The sound of the floor polisher grows. I assume that will run into Hobbs. I assume he knows that I'm the one who broke the window. Uh-oh. Stop it, Siri. Will he fend me off with a broomstick or call the police? I guess at this point, it just doesn't matter. When we reach the back hallway, the lights turn off again. We stop and wait for them to come back on, but they don't. The floor polisher continues, a steady hum. I can't see it, but it's only 20 or so feet away in the impenetrable darkness. I find it odd that the machine keeps running, that Hobbs keeps polishing in the dark. I turn on my lights and Sarah lets go of my hand and she stands behind me with her hands on my hips. I find the plug in the wall first, then the cord, then the machine itself. It stands in one place, bumping against the wall, unmanned, running itself. Panic sweeps through me, with fear close behind. Sarah and I have to get out of the school. I rip the cord from the outlet and the polisher stops, replaced by the soft hum of silence. I turn my lights off. Somewhere far down the hall, a door slowly creaks open. I crouch down, my back against the wall, Sarah holding tightly to my arm. Both of us are too scared to say a word. Instinct caused me to pull the cord to stop the polisher, and I have the urge to plug it back in. But I know it'll give us away if they're here. I close my eyes and I strain to listen. The creaking door stops. A soft wind seems to materialize from nowhere. Surely there isn't a window open. I think that maybe the wind is entering from a window I broke. Then the door slams shut and the glass breaks and shatters to the floor. Uh-oh. Are you scared, Stella? Sarah screams. Something sweeps by us, but I don't see what it is, and I don't care to find out. I pull Sarah by the hand and sprint down the hall. I shudder under the door and I rush out into the parking lot. Sarah gasps and both of us stop dead in our tracks. My breath catches in my throat and chills shoot up my spine. The lights are still on but dimmed and looking ghastly in the heavy dark. Beneath the nearest light, we both see it. Trench coat swaying in the breeze. Hat pulled so low that I can't see its eyes. It lifts its head and it grins at me. Dun dun dun. Sarah's grip tightens on my hand. We both take one step backwards and we trip in our rush to get away. We move the rest of the way back and crab walk until we hit the door. Come on, I yell as I get to my feet. Sarah stands and I try to latch the door, automatically locked behind us. Shit, I yell. I see another in the corner of my eye, standing still at first. I watch as it takes the first step towards me. There is another one behind it. The Mogadorians. All these years, and they are finally here. I try to focus, but my hands are shaking too badly to open the door. I feel them bearing down, closing in. Sarah presses close to me, and I can feel her trembling. I can't focus on the door to get the door unlocked. What happened to Grace under pressure? To all those days of training in the backyard? I don't want to die. I think I don't want to die. Do you want him to die still? John, Sarah says, and in her voice there is such fear that it causes my eyes to open wide and twist in determination. The lock clicks, the door opens. Sarah and I push through, and I slam the door shut. There is a thud on the other side, as though one of them has kicked it in. We run down the hall, noises follow, and I don't know if any of the Mogadorians are still in the school. Another window breaks off to the side, and Sarah screams in surprise. We have to be quiet, I say. We try opening classroom doors, but all of them are locked. I don't think there is enough time for me to open one of them. Somewhere a door is slammed shut, and I can't tell if it was ahead or behind us. Noises follow close behind, closing in, filling our ears. Sarah takes my hand and we run faster, my mind rushing ahead to remember the layout of the building so I can keep my lights off. Oh my goodness. I guess the tiredness just hits now. Finally, a door opens and we fall headlong into it. It's the history classroom. At the left of the school, overlooking a slight hill, and because of the 20-foot drop, there are bars over the windows. Despite its pressing firmly against the glass and no light enters. I silently shut the door and hope they didn't see us. I sweep my lights across the room and quickly turn them off. We're alone, and we hide beneath the teacher's desk. I try to catch my breath. Sweat runs down the sides of my face, and it stings my eyes. How many of them are there here? I saw at least 3. Surely those aren't the only ones out there. Did they bring beasts with them? The small weasels that the writers in Athens were so scared of. I wish that Henry were here, or even Bernie Kosar. The door opens slowly and I hold my breath, listening. Sarah leans into me and we put our arms around each other. The door closes very quickly and clicks into place. No footsteps follow. Did they merely open the door and stick their heads in to see if we were inside? Did they move on without entering? They found me after all this time. Surely they aren't lazy. What are we going to do? Sarah whispers after 30 seconds. I don't know, I whisper back. The room is wrapped in silence. Whatever opened the door must have left, or it's out in the hall waiting. I know, though, the longer we sit, the more of them will arrive. We need to get out of here. We have to risk it, and I take a breath. We have to leave, I whisper. We're not safe here. But they're out there. I know, and they aren't going to leave. Henry is at home and is in just as much danger as we are. How are we going to get out? I have no idea, but know what to say. And I don't know what to say. Only one way out, and that's the way we came in. Sarah's arms stay around me. We're sitting ducks, Sarah. They'll find us. And when they do, it will be all of them. At least we'll have the element of surprise this way. If we can get out of this school, I think I can start a car. If I can't, we'll have to fight our way back. She nods in agreement. I take a deep breath and I move out from underneath the desk, and I reach for Sarah's hand as she stands with me. Together, we take one step quietly as possible. Then another. It takes a full minute to cross the room, and nothing meets us in the darkness. A very slight glow comes from my hands, emitting almost no light, only enough to keep from running into the desk. I stare at the door, and I open it, and I have Sarah jump on my back, and I'll run as hard as I can and as fast as I can, lights on, down the hall, out of the school, and into the lot, or, failing that, into the woods. I know the woods and the way home. There are no more of them, but Sarah and I will have the home field advantage. As we near the door, I can feel my heart pounding, so hard that I fear the Mogadorians can hear it. I close my eyes and I slowly reach the knob. Sarah tenses, gripping my hand as tightly as she can. When my hand is an inch away, so close at the knob that I can feel the cold emitting off it, we are both grabbed from behind and pulled to the ground. I try to scream, but a hand covers my mouth. Fear rushes through me. I can feel Sarah struggling beneath the grip, and I do the same thing, but the grip is too strong. I never anticipated this, the Mogadorians being stronger than I am. I've greatly underestimated them. There is no hope now. I failed. I failed Sarah and Henry. I'm sorry. Henry, I hope you put up a better fight than I did. Sarah is breathing heavily, and with all my might, I try to free myself, but I can't. Shh, stop struggling, the voice whispers in my ear, a girl's voice. They're out there waiting. Both of you have to be quiet. It's a girl, every bit as strong as I am, maybe even stronger. I don't understand. Her grip loosens, and I turn and face her. We take each other in, and above the glow of my hands, I see her face, slightly older than mine, hazel eyes, high cheekbones, long hair pulled into a ponytail, a wide mouth and strong nose, olive-toned skin. Who are you, I ask. She looks to the door, still silent. An ally, I think. Somebody besides the Mogadorian knows we exist. Somebody is here to help. I am number 6, she says. I tried to get here before they did. Dun dun dun. All right. Another chapter down. 25 pages read. We are cruising, style, huh? We are cruising. So we will, today's Wednesday, we'll come back. I think it's probably going to be Sunday. We'll probably finish up on Sunday. All right. We're going to probably end a little early tonight because I'll be honest with you, my friends. I searched around in the news and it's, what it was like. Here's what the news was today, in my opinion. The news was, when I was looking at the news today, it was like I was looking at or listening to middle schoolers arguing about nonsense. That's what it looked like to me, to be honest with you. I watched the governor's news conference, and this is what he started with. I don't know if I think we did talk about this last night. So there was this, the president, Donald Trump, went to church. And when he went to church to meet with this Pope in Washington, he had a Bible in his hand. Now, there's been no other time in his 3.5 years as president, that he's ever been seen with a Bible in his hand. And he's walking into the church, and there are police in riot gear. They had to tear gas people to get them out of the way so he could go to the church. Now, the Pope, or not the Pope, the bishop that he met with said that he was very disappointed with their meeting, that he wasn't there truly for religious reasons. So today, Governor Cuomo pulled a little stunt, and he was taking a jab at the president. Was it funny? I don't know. But he started out his news conference by quoting the Bible. He had a Bible in his hands. I think he said maybe 3 or 4 different Bible verses. And what he did was he made it look like a stunt. And it worked, right? It worked because he without a doubt, I'm sure once the Donald heard about it, his blood pressure went up. But here's the thing, right? We've got people dying of a disease, an illness, right? COVID, and we've got people killing each other in the streets of America. We've got people protesting, and they're protesting peacefully. Then we've got agitators, and then we've got counter protesters. Things are going crazy out there. Is it the time for stunts? Well, I guess the governor thought that it was. So, anyway, it was a little silly watching everything happen. So, one of the other things, we talked yesterday about the Donald is saying that he thinks that governors are being weak, and that he's ready to call up the actual military, the army, to go into these cities and deal with the problem. So the Secretary of Defense, which I think this is either the second or the third. Second, I think. Yeah, I think it's the second Secretary of Defense, has second, has basically come out and said, yeah, this isn't smart. We shouldn't do this. This is not a good idea. So, I think every president probably has somebody in his cabinet, one day her cabinet, that contradict them, that say, well, maybe this is not the right idea. But it's been happening quite a bit lately to the Donald, and it's really happened quite a bit throughout his career. And a lot of times when this has happened, he's fired those people. So we'll say maybe the Secretary of Defense will get fired because of this. But I guess part of the soldiers that they were thinking about using was up in Fort Drum, the 10th Mountain Division. But again, and the governor talked about this today, is that the Army has got a job. The Army attacks. Yes, it defends, but it attacks. The police do just that. They police a population. The Army is not a police force. Now, the National Guard is more defending than anything, but they can take on a police type role or function whilst defending. So, that's what Governor Cuomo said. This is really the best use of any military that we might, if we need it. And apparently, I actually have to retract something that I said last night. I had read, and I misread, that the governor had put the National Guard on red alert or yellow alert or whatever, on standby, but he hadn't. He said he was considering it, and I misread it. So they never were actually put on standby. But again, he talked about we got people protesting, and that's good. We should. We've got people that are doing it peacefully, and they are exercising their First Amendment rights of speech. They're exercising their First Amendment rights to peacefully assemble. Right? That's what it says in the First Amendment. To peacefully assemble to redress the government, right, for grievances. We have a problem, government. We are grieving that problem. When it's not crying, it means that we are arguing, we are presenting that there is a problem, and we have the right to grieve it, to challenge it. So, So the governor applauded those people, but really condemned and came down on these violent protesters. And I guess New York City wasn't that bad, but I read today that I guess 2 New York State troopers were run over in Buffalo yesterday. One of them, I guess, was in pretty serious condition. I saw nothing else about that trooper today, though. So I'm not too sure. I hope that he is okay. But 2 of these troopers were run over by one of these violent protesters and looters. And that's exactly, again, what everybody has been saying is protesting good, looting bad. And I don't know that there's any real end in sight. I know a lot more protests were planned. I did not get to see, I don't know if anybody got to see, President Obama was supposed to do or release a speech about this whole situation today at 5 p.m. And I can't remember who he was going to work with in making this speech. I can't remember. But also, who else? I'm sorry. President Bush came out today and had some pretty strong words for President Trump. The Pope today was quoted as saying, he's not a real Christian. So the Donald really today was kind of not a good day for him in regards to not only national, but world politics. A lot of people were going after him. So we'll see what comes of that. But the other big news is that, now retail stores, and I was listening this morning to the news, they were at Stuyvesant Plaza, which is over by Crossgates, not that far from Crossgates, right on the edge of Guilderland and Albany. They were there and basically, just kind of waiting to see what happens, because I think Stuyvesant Plaza opens at noon, and they interviewed the store owners, and the one store owner was the owner from the Book House, which is it's a really nice little bookstore in Stuyvesant Plaza, and there's the little Book House and then the Book House. And what they said is that they've got a policy and they've got a plan. So, people want to come in, they want to pick up books, they want to read books, they want to look at books, and that's fine. But when you do that, they're going to have a table. You're going to take the book. Hey, I liked it. It looked nice, but I'm not going to buy it. So you take the book, you put it on the table. They're going to take the book. They're going to put it somewhere for 3 days. Then they can put it back on the shelf. So, they've got a plan. They've got hand sanitizer. They're asking people to bring reusable bags. I think it was them. Bring in reusable bags, to put your stuff. But when it comes to, if you have to use cash, fine. But it's better if you use a debit card or a credit card. So a lot of stores are ready to rock in the Capital District. Things are opening up. And tomorrow, so restaurants can open up tomorrow for outdoor seating. So, I don't know how many restaurants there are out there in the Capital. Sorry, Stell, in the Capital District that have outdoor seating. But so tomorrow, and I already, some places that I've liked on Facebook, they've already said tomorrow, 12 noon, we'll have your outdoor seating, so it's good. I mean, it's good to see people getting back to work, but I think the challenge for us is going to be, and let me back up. I don't think, I know. The challenge is going to be, there are going to be people that are going to say, great, I'm glad that my job is open. What do I do with my 6-year-old and 7-year-old? Normally, they'd be in school. So what do I do? So, I think that people are going to get back into work, but I think that and I don't know that we can really gauge yet, but there's going to be a good chunk of people that are not going to be able to go back. And then the question mark is that somebody brought this up. Can those people still apply for unemployment? So what I mean by that is this, is that, my job is open back up and I've been getting unemployment, but I can't actually go in. Can I say, well, I need to stay at home and collect unemployment? And I think that the answer, my friends, is going to be no. Get back to work and find a way. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I know that there's still this question mark about the super unemployment. I'm not so sure that it's going to get pushed to September, which is what, there was a lot of talk about two things. The super unemployment, the $600 a week, getting pushed back to the end of September. And then there was also talk about maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of stimulus checks. So I don't know that we can do all of that. But, maybe when they look at things, they might say, well, we might have to cut the unemployment. Like, we won't do the super unemployment, but maybe we will do another round of stimulus checks. I don't see the government doing both, but maybe they will. So lots of decisions to be made. And, I know the governor today said that, they're still slowly getting back into it. The assembly, the full assembly and Senate have got to, continue to meet. And there's those 30 different bills that they're trying to get passed to help New Yorkers. So we'll see what happens. And I didn't say this, and this is, again, bad news, but great news. The number of people that died in New York State is the lowest it's been in months. It's down 49. So 49 people. Hospitalizations are down. I saw no reporting today on new cases. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't any new cases, but I didn't see any new cases actually reported. So hopefully that's good news. All right. This day in history, my friends. So on this day in history, in the year 1800, John Adams becomes the first president to live in Washington, D.C., right? The first actual capital was in Baltimore, and then it was moved to D.C. because we wanted to show Southerners that and put it in a place in the South. And I really think D.C. today is kind of like the line where the South is drawn. It's not really in the South. But he is the first president to actually live in D.C., and he ends up living in a tavern for a while, which I kind of thought was cool. On this day, and this is quite a jump. I don't know, maybe today is just throughout history, a lame news day. On this day in 1940, the Germans begin to bomb Paris, right? So it's September 1st, 1939, that World War II in Europe begins with the Nazi invasion, the German invasion of Poland. And now, once they've gotten Poland, they turn the other way and they go back to France. And what they wanted to do was bomb the living heck out of it and basically force the civilians, bomb the living heck out of the civilians, and force them to force the people, the government and the military to to surrender, which they eventually do. But World War II becomes a very different war because World War II, in regards to the use of airplanes and bombers, right? Now we have these machines that can fly hundreds and hundreds of miles and pummel a site on the ground. So when they look at it, both sides say, if we bomb those factories, then they can't make stuff for the French army. Okay, bomb it. And they don't care so much that it's civilians that are working in those factories. They'll go back and forth. And again, the United States does it, and England does it. It's the first real war where this takes place. So the use of it, they're just not really, they don't have it figured out yet. I thought this was kind of interesting. On this day in 1956, right, rock and roll as a type of music, is growing, and there's a lot of controversy because of it. And the city of Santa Cruz in California actually bans the playing of rock and roll in public places. I thought that was kind of interesting. Sorry, got a piece of ice. On this day in 1965, the first American to actually exit a spacecraft and walk in space. And then on this day, and this is probably one of the biggest, things in the history of my lifetime that I think was probably, it was definitely an eye-opening thing for me. I was 16 years old, and what would I have been? I guess I was a sophomore in high school, and in Tiananmen Square, we had talked about that a few weeks ago. Tiananmen Square is occupied by hundreds of thousands of Chinese students. And it's on this day that the military opens fire and kills hundreds of them. So, we have had this relationship with China that's just been, I think it's just been wacky. And one day we really, as a country, we have to figure it out. We really have to say, do we want cheap phones, or do we want to, and we don't really get cheap phones, do we want cheap goods, or do we want to trade with a country that practices, decent human rights? When the COVID stuff hit, one of the things that Chinese companies were doing was they were emptying prison camps that had Muslims, Chinese Muslims, and they were saying, okay, let the workers go home, and we're going to put the Chinese Muslims in the factories and keep the factories open and keep them working, because if they get sick and die, who cares? They're just Muslims. Is that really the type of country that we want to do business with? So, I think over the past decade or so, there's been a lot of talk about fair trade. We want to, and I can't remember the organization, but there was an organization. I haven't seen them in a while, but what they were doing was they were putting, like, certain products had like a little red circle on them, and that, when you saw that circle, you knew that product was made by fair labor, right? Somebody was getting paid a good price, they were getting a good wage. They were not working in a crappy factory, right? Good conditions. They weren't being overworked, and I can't remember the name of that organization now. Anyway, there are some people that really care about that, and then there are some people that really don't. And then there are people that say, listen, I do care about that, but I don't make enough money to go and buy the more expensive products. I have to go to Walmart and buy stuff so that I can have things for my family. So So, it's tough, right? It's real tough. But anywho, today is Wednesday, the 3rd of June. We officially have 2 weeks of school left. Tell you the truth, it's not even 2, because on that last day, the 17th, is a half day. I still don't know what that means. I've been thinking about that. Like, what is a half day in this mean, right? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. So tomorrow is the car parade for the seniors, which should be interesting. Is that what it's called? The car parade? I think that's what it's called. So that should be fun times. And we are supposed to be cleaning out our room this week. So I got to get that done. And it's going to be kind of weird. I have not been in my classroom in almost, April, May, right? Almost 3 months, which I guess isn't totally weird, because usually we go 2 full months in the summertime. But then again, I've taught summer school, so really the longest I go without being in my classroom, at least for the past few years, has been maybe 3 weeks or so. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a little weird. I think it's going to be a little eerie tomorrow. But, it is what it is. But I'm going to go in and clean out my classroom and, maybe stick around for the car parade, but we'll see. I'm not sure. And that's where we're at, my friends. So the book is getting great. The book has been great. We'll be done soon. We'll start book 2. And I'm excited to do that. And then I don't know. I think, if we keep reading through the summer, maybe we'll get, I don't know, maybe we'll keep with these books. Or I don't know. Maybe we'll find something else. I don't know. I'll look through the collection. Or if you guys have suggestions, email me. But yeah, I think we can do it. So, but with that, my friends, as I've left you every night, keep running the marathon. Don't sprint. We'll get there. We will get there. There's no doubt. Things are getting better. Things are opening back up. Slowly but surely we'll get there, and fingers crossed, we're going to be back in school in the fall. Fingers crossed. I've got some hope. I'm starting to say to myself, like, if restaurants are opening, if summer day camps are opening, I'm hoping that school will open. I do think that there would be some modifications. Like somebody had brought up, and I think I was talking to Mr. Borrega, and I think he's right. Like, I think what might happen is that we might do something like this. After 5th period, you're going to have lunch in that classroom that you were just in. So maybe we have to do something like that. Like, we can't put 200 people in the cafeteria at one time. Maybe you're just going to, we're going to have to do something a little bit different with lunchtime. I think probably classes like band. I don't know that we could do band. Can we put all those people in that room, blowing through their instruments? I don't know. But we shall see. So be good, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow night for some more I Am Number 4. It's exciting. We now have met number 6. And John's like, whoa. This girl's stronger than me. Whoa. Right? So that's kind of cool. And I think there might be a couple more surprises that are in store for us. So, maybe we'll even tomorrow night, maybe we'll just do 45 minutes of reading again and we'll just, we'll see how we do with the news. Maybe we'll just leave the news where it's at and do a little extra reading and try to get through our books. So be good, my friend. Stay out of trouble, and I'll see you tomorrow.